Okay, everybody. Looks like we are live. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. Welcome to another episode of Sasquatch Out of the Shadows Live. As always, I'm your host, Alex Pedikov. I hope you're all having a great Monday night so far. We have a really fun show planned for tonight. It's going to be awesome. But first of all, just a couple of announcements. Obviously, if you haven't seen any of the previous shows, there's a playlist on the channel where you can check them out. This is stream 54, I believe. Almost at 55, pretty crazy. But last week we had a great conversation with Emily and Tobias Wayland of the Singular Fortean Society. That was fun. Next week we're going to be joined by Larry Beans Baxter, who's a military and law enforcement veteran. He's also a Sasquatch researcher and other researcher of other unexplained things in Alaska. So we'll be talking about Alaska, which is going to be pretty cool. Very awesome place. So that'll be really cool to get his perspective about that. But for tonight's show, we're actually going to do something really fun, and I will talk about that in just a minute. But what I'm going to do now for folks is show a couple minutes of my upcoming film called Beyond the Trail, the Granite State Bigfoot Case, which is going to be coming out over on the Small Town Monsters channel this Thursday. So that's, I think, May 6th. Yeah, I'm just checking the date. So that's Thursday, May 6th. So I'm just going to play that clip for a little bit. And if there's no audio, please let me know, because I'm still trying to figure out, because we're going to need the audio for tonight. But just let me know, guys. So here is that clip right here. Let me pull that up, actually. One second. Get your full screen. Okay, here we go. So I guess there's no audio. I don't know how to fix this. Hopefully I can figure this out for the show tonight, because we obviously need that. I'm just going to keep playing. If you guys can hear anything, let me know. All right. Well, never mind. Apparently, this is not going to work. I'm going to have to play with this behind the scenes, guys. Sorry about that. I don't know how Kayak figured it out. Apparently, not too good at running this program. But okay, whatever. I'll figure that out, and hopefully I can show that by the end of the show. Let's just move on, though. So what we're going to be doing tonight actually is we're going to be talking to a bunch of folks. We're having a kind of a cryptid panel discussion. We're going to be talking about different pieces of video evidence, Sasquatch and other cryptids. We're going to be talking to Jeremiah Byron of Bigfoot Society. You guys might remember he's been on the show, as well as Tate Hieronymus of the Bluff Creek Project podcast. He's also been a guest on the show, and Greg Morrill of All the Weird. So it'll be awesome to have them all on. And as I said, we're going to be discussing photo and video evidence of Sasquatch and other cryptids, each of us choosing roughly 3 examples for discussion. So let's bring those guys in and get the conversation started here. All right.
What's up, Alex?
How's it going, guys?
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, we're still missing Tate here, but he's always great. Awesome, guys. So I'm really excited for this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Maybe folks obviously have seen some of the shows that you guys have been on, but let's maybe talk a little bit more about Jeremiah. We'll kind of do it going around in a circle. What do you what do you do at Bigfoot Society? Maybe talk a little bit about it.
Sure. So what I do with Bigfoot Society is I interview people that are involved in some way with the cryptozoology niche. And it can be Bigfoot researchers, authors, or artists, and try to get the what their story is. So like talking to Cliff Barrickman, not so much about Bigfoot, but maybe about the Grateful Dead, or talking to people like Jeff Meldrum and Kathy Strain, but also getting like the things that people normally don't get to share on a podcast. So it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. And you can check out more BigfootSocietyPodcast.com. So
okay, awesome. Sorry that what popped on the screen.
No, you're
there.
good.
I figured out how to get the sound to work. So
awesome.
We're
That's
good
great.
now. Greg, what about you, man?
Yeah, I just I run all the weird on Instagram, just cover cryptozoology, paranormal, just weird stuff in general. On the weekend, I was up in North Bay, Ontario, and came across this house that was just like covered in junk like old Christmas ornaments and stuff. So I took a bunch of pictures and covered that on my Instagram, and it's just all the things I come across I find unusual and interesting. And I love to get out in the woods, and I always try to share some images of that and anything weird I find while I'm out there. Yeah, it's just fun. Encourage people to get outside and do their own searching and
exactly
get out in the world.
Right on. Now I understand you had a little bit of a drone mishap, and we're no strangers to that on this channel.
We weren't supposed to talk about this. No. Yeah.
No shame in that. It happens. It looked like a nice natural area, though.
Yeah, it was. For some reason, it wasn't flying properly. It seemed like it was stuck in a forward movement. So I was trying to stabilize it myself, and I almost got it back to the rocket. It actually went in the water like a foot away from the rock shelf I was on.
Oh man. Oh.
That's unfortunate.
It just went in so fast, and it was like at the top of a waterfall, so it fell in and just went. It was gone.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, you showed the footage, and man, it looked like optical avoidance issues. I mean, that's what I had happen in Louisiana, and I've talked about that on here. And yeah, those drones, they can be so temperamental sometimes. They're great.
I love it though. Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, totally. Okay, well, looks like Tate's in here. So Tate, tell us a little bit about what you do and the Bluff Creek Project podcast for folks that might not be familiar.
Okay, well, first off, is my audio good? Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, good. The Bluff Creek Project podcast, it was an idea that I had that I kind of recommended to the guys, and kind of like what Jeremiah has done since COVID hit. I really wanted to do it more, so I was like, let's just do it. So we ended up doing it. And the rest is history, I guess. But I am a member of the Bluff Creek Project.
I'm sorry about that. I'm still trying to figure this thing out.
How dare you? Yeah, I'm a member of the Bluff Creek Project, so I go up there a couple times a year, or at least once a year, since I'm in Florida now. And we maintain the trail to get to the Patterson-Gimlin film site. We kind of maintain the Patterson-Gimlin film site itself, and kind of just do some work out there, clearing like dead trees and overbrush and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I do. And I'm also a member of the BFRO, so I'll go on there once in a while and do some investigating and all that. It's a good time.
Right on. Awesome. Yeah. So you've obviously got a lot of exciting stuff to talk about tonight. Some cool photo and video evidence. So let's just jump right into that. So basically what we've done is we've kind of each selected 3-ish, we'll say, pieces of photo and video evidence. Some of it is Sasquatch related. There can be other cryptids as well. I'm doing 2 that are not Bigfoot related, which I think are pretty awesome. But just want to say hi to everyone in the chat. I know there's a lot of awesome folks in the chat. Thank you for the feedback, by the way, on that video clip. I will show a little bit of that towards the end. So stick around if you want to see a few minutes of that production. But I see we have a lot of cool folks in the podcast. We got Cornell. How's it going? I think I saw Keith Rollins. Yeah, Keith. Hey, Alex, Greg, Jeremiah, and Tate. Awesome. Keith is one of the Clubhouse guys. Jeremiah, do you maybe want to take a minute to talk about the Clubhouse? Bigfoot
for real. Totally, for real. Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you have an iPhone, there is an app that's pretty big right now called Clubhouse. It's a social media app that is all audio based. And I've gone ahead and I, with the help of a lot of other people, set up the cryptozoology niche on there. So we have a time we meet every week, 9:30 p.m. Central Time, where we just talk about a different cryptozoology topic. Greg has an awesome show that he's doing on Thursdays bi-weekly called Cryptocasters, and he's interviewing different podcasters in the cryptozoology and paranormal niche. So just a way for the community to come together in a different way that hasn't really happened before. So you can send me a DM on Instagram at Bigfoot Society if you have an iPhone and you're wanting to get involved with the Clubhouse community, because it is invite only right now. So
right,
same here. You can send me a DM to all the weird or all dot weird on Instagram.
Perfect. Yeah, very cool. And I go on there as well. Tate does. We kind of are all four in there, pretty active in some capacity or another. It's pretty fun. I know it's only for iPhone right now, but they are supposedly going to be doing a non-iPhone drop sometime. Close. I don't know. Do you know anything about that?
They're beta testing Android right now. Good thing this isn't live, right?
Yeah. And that would suck if it's live.
I know, right?
Right. Well, the pressure's always on when it's live. But yeah, you got some awesome stickers too. I have just two of the ones that you have.
Totally,
so
dude. Thank you.
He's got an awesome Bluff Creek sticker, as well as Bigfoot Society and other ones. So,
I got a question for Jeremiah.
Okay.
Jeremiah, when are you gonna send me a Bluff Creek sticker?
When you put an order in on my Etsy.
Wait, did you hear my question?
Like everyone else, Tate, when you order it.
Exactly. Awesome. Yeah, but definitely if you guys want, there's links to all these guys down in the description. So help support other independent creators that are doing a lot of fun stuff, Bigfoot and cryptid related. But with that said, let's just jump right into it. Who wants to go first? Let's start that out. Or do you guys want me to just start? I can easily do that.
Just
all right,
roll them out.
I'll do that. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to share some photos. So let me pop one of my photos in here real quick. All right. Let's see. Let me share my screen. This is all new, so we're trying this for the first time here. So bear with us, guys. All righty. So the first kind of, I don't want to say cryptid, I guess, that we're talking about. Well, it is a cryptid technically. It's called the Holodera. Now, this is interesting because I'm going to just pop up the photo. So these are the two alleged photos of this creature. If you guys can see that, just let me know how that looks and everything. So this is the only two known photos of this creature. Now, it's supposedly some sort of aquatic cryptid seen in the Amazon. So we're talking Brazil and a lot of South America. So it's kind of a sawtooth dolphin. Basically, it was reported in the early to mid 90s, and it was actually seen by Jeremy Wade of River Monsters, interestingly enough. So that's sort of a bit of a high caliber sort of person that was actually the witness. And the story is Wade saw this creature swimming while he was fishing in this area of the Amazon. And those that have seen River Monsters know he's always in these extreme locations and everything. And he saw this thing and told some locals, and they just didn't really believe him. They said that he was probably drinking or making it up or something. And he actually went back and saw again the same thing. Now, I don't know if he took these photos or if they was taken a year apart or not, but very interesting kind of spikes you can see there on the back and everything. And what's really interesting about this area is that they actually have river dolphins in Central and South America, well, especially in the Amazon basin. So there's three different subspecies. They're called the Amazon river dolphin, but there are species of toothed whale, and there's three subspecies that are recognized, including the Bolivian river dolphin, which I will pull a picture of right here, if it will open. So this is the Bolivian river dolphin, right? So this is what the Bolivian one looks like. They all look slightly different, but I guess they are all part of technically the same species. Then you also have the Humboldtiana, so that's the Latin name, or known as the Orinoco river dolphin, which is this one right here. That a little bit bigger. So pretty interesting. Take note of that back. You don't really see the jagged spikes or anything. Then you have another one. The last, I guess, subspecies is the Araguayan, something like that, river dolphin. And I will pull that one up right here. And there's not really a great picture of it, but that's what it looks like. So none of them have that spiked back, which is really interesting. So a lot of people have suggested that maybe it's simply a river dolphin that was hit with propellers that has this jagged back because of damage from a propeller or something. This kind of thing happens with manatees. You might remember on Monster Quest, there was that footage of a sea monster in Florida, which I think turned out to be a manatee with its tail that was kind of chopped up and looked almost like a trident. But some of these spikes look pretty interesting. I don't know. I mean, if that's pretty consistent damage from a propeller to be simply from a propeller. Now, I've looked it up also pictures of, let's say a humpback whale here. You'll notice they do have that little spike. Maybe it's a little jagged in some of these areas, but not really that much. So that's what's curious about this case. I don't know if there's been any sightings since. There really is not a lot of information online. I kind of try to pick some more obscure images, I guess, for this one, but it just was tough to find anything else about it. And the fact that Jeremy Wade was the one who saw it, I don't know if there's been any other discussion that he's brought about the Holdedera, which again is sort of a sawtooth sort of creature. That's what they call it, at least. So very interesting. But Wade actually did say at one point he believed that it was a dolphin that had been deliberately mutilated by aggrieved fishermen, which is really interesting. Which I hope is not the case, but with the Amazon being such a strange place with so many new species discovered there every year, perhaps there's a possibility that there's another subspecies of these dolphins that have somehow evolved to have this spiked back. I don't know, but these pictures have been floating around online for a while, and people will attribute them to being, Champ or the Loch Ness Monster or something. Like they'll say it's a photo taken in Scotland or elsewhere when, as far as we know, they were taken in the Amazon. So that's the first one I decided to pick. I thought those were pretty interesting. The next one I'm going to choose is one that's very near and dear to me, which is the Champ photo. Oh, no. Where'd the photo go? The Sandra Mansi photo. Let me just pull that up here. I thought I had it. I don't know what happened to it. It must have gotten deleted. So I'm just going to pull that up. We're going to just do a little search here for it. So this is the famous Mansi photo people might be familiar with. This is a very grainy copy of it. But what I find really interesting about the Mansi photo, just a little bit of the background, it was taken in 1977. I'm just going to mute you, Tate. I think that's Tate's mic making some weird noises. But so the Mansi photo is taken in 1977 in Lake Champlain near St. Albans, Vermont, which is an area on Lake Champlain. At least that's what they believe it was. And what's interesting about it is it didn't really become published until 1980. That's when the Mansi sort of came forward with the story, which I think is fascinating. And I actually had the chance to be one of the last people to speak to Sandra Mansi, in a documentary capacity before she passed away a few years ago when I was working on my On the Trail of Champ series. It was really interesting, talking to her about her experience. And I've seen her interview on so many other shows and documentaries over the years, and nothing really to me said that her story changed within the conversation that I noted that I had with her compared to, if I was to watch a documentary. She seemed pretty sincere about it. I left that interview basically with the conclusion that I don't believe she or her family hoaxed what happened there. I think that they genuinely believe that they had something happen to them. I don't think they faked it. They didn't digitally manipulate the photo because at that time, it was a little bit harder to do that than nowadays, where you can just Photoshop and really just kind of manipulate photos, and you can't really trust any of the photos out online. And it was actually looked at labs at the time, for photography labs. I think it was Kodak took a look at it, or one of those companies had their digital or their photo lab actually look at it at one point, film lab, and they said that there was no tampering done. Now, whether or not somebody else was pulling a hoax, I find it hard to believe. There's been some that suggest that it was a log or a tree. I don't know. I mean, even this summer when I was there filming with Chasing Legends, we went to the St. Albans area. There were sightings this past summer in 2020, right in that same area, basically right where this photo is taken. So it's really interesting. I don't know what it is in the photo, if it's real or not. I lean towards it maybe being some kind of a creature, but it's pretty interesting. So that's the second one I chose to kind of talk about. And there's plenty of stuff on it in a lot of the documentaries. I talked about it on the Trail of Champ, of course. I don't know what that noise is.
How deep is it right there?
In the water, it's tough to say because the spot is not exactly known. There's still a bit of a debate. I think Sandra Mansi, she was a little reluctant to give up the spot because she believed that it might create a situation where people were trying to harm the creatures or something. So I think, or either that or she forgot because it had changed a lot. I mean, that whole area is now very developed and there's a lot of houses in that area of St. Albans. So it's kind of intriguing to wonder what's going on there. But I don't know what's going on with this sound thing. Does anybody else hear that, or is that just on my end? I'm getting
No,
this,
I legit hear it. So me and Greg are muted, which means it's either you or it's Tate. And I'm gonna throw Tate under the bus for this.
Greg,
try muting yourself for a second, Tate. Let me just see if it's on my end. Is it on my end? No, I guess not. That's fine. And maybe it's. I think what's happening is because he doesn't have headphones on. It's my audio coming back, which it's fine when he's talking. So we'll just have him mute himself when he's not talking. But anyway, yeah. The problem is trying.
I want to try putting my headphones in and see if that
Okay,
works.
cool. Yeah. Go for it. And then, so the Mansi photo is an interesting location. As somebody's in the comments saying, it could be a fat bottom girl swimming. Oh, gosh. Some people have suggested that it's somebody swimming, but the size determinations that have been done would put it out of the human range. I believe, just roughly, there's been some kind of models made and people are trying to figure out exactly what's going on. So it's an interesting location. It's definitely an interesting photo. And I think, as I mentioned, I think Sandra Mansi truly believed what she had seen and experienced in her family. And I don't think they were complicit in a hoax. If somebody else did it, however unlikely that may be, they didn't get anybody else tricked. So I don't think we'll ever know, but it's one of those things it's pretty much the most famous lake monster photo in the world. But so that's one of the photos I have selected. And the last one I'm going to show, I couldn't actually download it for some reason. I don't know why, but I'm just going to quickly show a clip here. It's the Stacy Brown Bigfoot footage. So folks might know that from Stacy Brown. He's like a skunk ape hunter down in Florida. He has this interesting thermal footage, and I picked it because I'm interested in the FLIRs, and I've been using a FLIR Scout, TK Scout, for the past year or so. And this was actually supposedly taken on a TK Scout, and I know Tate will probably talk about that with the thermal stuff. But there's really no sound because these Scouts don't record sound. So we'll just play this now, and we'll kind of let people have a look at it. And full credit goes to Stacy. This is just me playing it off of his channel. So. Supposedly there's an object there in the middle. And you see something just run across, and it's pretty clear, which is really cool. So I think there's a section where they show, the slow. We'll keep watching the slow and the zoomed part. So folks,
Alex,
it's called
I have
the brown
legit
footage.
never seen this before. That's why I'm
That's awesome.
This is pretty cool, man. Yeah.
So you'll see and I'll get into a little kind of discussion about it here. So that was slowed in and zoomed. So I think they have a freeze. They don't have a freeze frame, but what we'll do is we will pause it right as the being or creature sort of crosses. If I can find that clip again. Oh, there we go. Okay, so a little backstory. Yeah, Stacy Brown and his father, I guess, were searching for skunk ape, and this is on I believe the Panhandle area of Florida. So pretty interesting. There's a lot of Squatch reports in those areas, and they were out in this area. And this actually was followed up by Cliff Barrickman and the Finding Bigfoot folks when they were down in Florida. They looked into this footage and they determined the creature was pretty tall. I think within human range, but on the very tall side. Cliff Barrickman has a full report of it over on his website, which is really neat. So I just think it's cool. I mean, you can clearly see there's a figure there in the middle. I don't know, in general, how hard it would be to fake something like this, but it's an interesting piece of footage. So I don't know. Do you guys have reactions to any of my photos and evidence? Because what we'll do is we'll do a little presentation on each of them, and then we'll kind of do a little reaction session there at the end. Obviously, for Jeremiah, first time seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, so I've seen a few thermal videos, and I've never seen one where it's like if I was to watch this and you weren't here telling me what it was, I would obviously I would be like, yeah, there's a Bigfoot there. The other ones, sometimes the person has to say, this is this, or
right.
This is legit. I'm a big fan of this one. This is very cool. No question about this for me.
Sure. Anybody else?
Yeah, I watched Stacy's documentary, The Skunk Ape Lives, I believe it's called. He goes into more detail about the video, and I'm pretty convinced it's real. Just the story of him and his dad in the woods, and his dad was on the thermal. And Stacy's like, what's wrong? And his dad didn't say anything until he was like, let's get out of here. And then he told him after that there was something on the scope. So
yeah, really interesting. I mean, it's one of the comments here, Outcast Jeff says Bobo did a stand-in size comparison. Yeah, Bobo obviously on Finding Bigfoot was always kind of the designated Bigfoot stand-in, but pretty interesting. Tate, any thoughts?
Yeah, I was going to say, to go along with that comment, Bobo is I think he's the tallest member on the team. And this thing was at least 1.5 feet taller than him. And
so it was out of human range.
Yeah, and when he did
for the most part,
the legs and the arms were just a lot longer than his. And they pointed out something too on the show. If you see that leg at the bottom, it's almost at a 90-degree angle when it steps out. If you see that too.
Yeah, that is interesting.
People don't really walk like that with a 90-degree bend in their leg. But
I mean,
something common in the Patterson-Gimlin film that you see too.
Right. And somebody in the comments was saying it looks like he's throwing a discus. I mean, the hands on it are pretty large. I mean, if this was a costume, it would obviously have to be some sort of large hands or mitts or something. And you can see, and what's interesting actually is the peaking too. It's tree peaking, which is obviously a behavior that's reported with Sasquatch. So as you see it cross, you see the pretty large hands and pretty large feet. So I just like it because it's thermal. It's one of the best, I think, in terms of the FLIR footage, because a lot of times I've had frustrations working with the TK Scout and everything, and you just get a blob a lot of the times. But I've gotten some good stuff of deer and porcupines. You can really see it. But here, with this kind of thing, I know a lot of the other supposed FLIR footage out there is not as defined when it comes to the Sasquatch topic. So I just thought it was really interesting. And, somebody who's used a FLIR, obviously we can see he's got the battery down here, low battery, and the little FLIR Scout thing that shows up on the FLIR video, which only records up to 720 video. So it's not super high quality. But just thought those were
FLIR. I think for one of mine, I gave a still image from my video, and we can kind of talk about that more to go along with what you were just saying real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, do you want to go next, Tate, or do you want to go? Do you want to stay last?
No, I can stay last. Stay true to
okay.
The
Because when we're on Clubhouse, we're sharing our stories or whatever the topic is for the week. Tate is always the last one, so we'll keep it that way. But cool. So those are my three. I just thought those were really kind of awesome pieces of footage, and I didn't know a whole lot about the Holodera. Actually, that was one that I had seen the photo before, but Kayak had sent me that and I just thought it was kind of neat. And the champ photo, of course, is near and dear to me. So thought I would show that. But who wants to go next? Oh, speaking of Lake Champlain, there's a background image of Lake Champlain. Okay. Jeremiah, you want to go next?
Yeah, let's go for it. So
Okay.
Alex, you did a really good job with background information, and I really applaud you for that. Now for something, so I pick things that I've seen all over the place, and people keep bringing them up. I don't have a lot of background information about these videos, but I think they're pretty cool, and I want to see what people's thoughts are about them, because you see them all over the place. So,
of course, yeah. So which one would you like me to show first?
We could just go ahead and pick one.
Okay, I'm gonna do I think I saw skunk ape. Now let me just pop it in here, and it kind of just plays right away. So I guess we'll just start it off right away. But there should be sound now, guys. So
okay,
here we go.
Okay, so supposedly, I think this is a shot of a skunk ape in Mississippi. Is the story, but. Okay. It's ripping something apart. The really good part is at the end. Yeah.
So yeah, you can kind of see it there in the middle, huh?
Mm-hmm. I'm waiting for it. There's one part that's coming up that gets me every time. Should be coming up. Yeah. Okay. So and then I would probably run.
So he starts running off. Now I can probably go back to that. Let's see. It looks like
it's the part where it stands up, and it's pretty big.
Okay, so it stands up, and you can see it there in the screen.
Yeah.
So yeah, really interesting. Do you know anything else about this?
I don't. Is this a straight up hoax, Alex?
Okay, because I was seeing comments,
I don't know.
Yeah, so there's a couple comments. It looks like Elin is saying, Alex, I thought the video playing was now confirmed hoax. I'm not sure. I don't know. Quick Witty says, yeah, it's a hoax, man. I don't know. It's interesting. I genuinely have no idea. The one thing that I was thinking about when you had sent me this and I was looking at is, how does one sneak up on something like a Sasquatch? I guess that sort of, for me, is a little hard to believe, but.
That's what I was going to say. I've seen this video a few years ago, and he was recording for almost 2 minutes, and I had no idea he was there. And plus, I think it was showing only behind, so not the front. So it's probably going to look a little better if you show the face of the costume if it is one. So that's just my take on it, but that's just. I don't know. That's my opinion. And it's on YouTube, so I don't really go to YouTube for videos that often.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that they're
for
not
anything? Okay.
Doesn't mean that they're not on there, but I think a lot of them are just for clickbait and views.
Of course.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. So what I'll do actually here is I can pop up. We'll get rid of that clip here. And we'll pop up this screen. This is I don't know if this is the original posting. So it was October 28th, 2013, 600,000 views. And it's, just got the whole backstory. Again, I don't know if this is the original one. There's obviously a lot of comments kind of talking about it. But it's interesting. I mean, I don't know. If it is a hoax, please, let us know. And it looks like B is saying, Alex, I will try to find the article that proves it is a hoax. I will notify you when I find
interesting.
it.
I would be interested in that too. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of people
That'd
who do breakdowns. I know there's a bunch of folks who are doing some kind of there's Para Breakdown. There's a couple other channels as well that do that sort of thing. So pretty interesting. Yeah, I guess what we'll do instead of recapping at the end, we'll talk about each individual piece as we're going. So I think that works a little better. But I did just want to say hi to some of the other folks. Looks like we got Strangeology in the chat. That's Jeff. A lot of other cool folks. Shane Corson's actually in the chat. What's going on, Shane? He says, nice. Jonathan and Sarah Brown's footage from Chehalis, Washington is amazing. Phil Poling did a breakdown that was on point. Yeah, I think that's another Brown footage, right, Shane? That's pretty cool. But yeah, that FLIR stuff, it's just the FLIR and the thermal stuff is awesome. But we'll get to that a little more in a bit. So, all right, now do you have another one you'd prefer me to show, Jeremiah?
You are welcome to choose whichever one you would like.
Okay, let us choose. Let's see here. We're going to pick the Bigfoot Sasquatch Canada clip. So pull that up.
Look. That's not human. That's not a human. That face is here at first, but no.
So I'm not really sure what to think about
human.
this one, but it is used all over the place. I'd be really curious to see what the people in the comments think about that, because you can see something rising up at the end and kind of moving off, but it is so quick. I'm not really sure. I think it's pretty cool though. It's an interesting viewpoint of a shot.
Yeah, it's supposedly kind of like right here. You can see sort of a figure as it sort of. I'll mute this and we'll just have it. It just kind of takes off. Now I don't think I can zoom in, unfortunately, on here the way StreamYard works. But interesting. What else do we think? I mean, Greg, you're up in Canada. What does this does this look interesting to you at all?
It looks very Canadian. I think some people would probably say that the reaction's too mild or whatever, but
right.
I take my kids out in the woods and I don't know, I try to condition them not to like panic at things like that. And like, who knows what this family was like out in the woods. Like when you panic, things go wrong.
Right.
So teaching your kids to be calm and be rational is a common practice for me, and I'd hope that it would be for people who bring their kids into the woods with them.
Absolutely, that makes a lot of sense. Now here's the original place where I believe the original source where it was posted. So it was 2014 Bigfoot Sasquatch news sighting, Calgary, Alberta, Canada. It says, out for a walk at the river's edge, we saw this. Before we got it on video, it had walked a few feet, looked back at us, then crouched down. So I don't know if folks have seen this. I know, Jeremiah, you're right. I've seen this one posted all over the place. And obviously, whenever these kinds of videos, especially in a place like YouTube, as Tate was saying, sometimes less than reliable, perhaps. There's a lot of faking and people just having fun, pranking each other. But I don't know. I think it's far away. I don't know if there's been any serious analysis done on it. But Tate, what do you think about this one? I'll unmute you. Sorry.
I kind of agree with Greg too. I mean, if you kind of, especially if you have kids and you live in a place like that, they're more used to it than people who aren't. I mean, that being said, I still think the reactions are a little mild because it's something you just don't see in the wilderness. Yeah, it's hard to say, really. And the fact that it's far away is still difficult. So, I mean, there's always a 50-50 chance it could be real. But also, too, hoaxers are learning as much as we are, too. They're trying to figure out things to also better their hoax. Like, well, what can we do different to make it more believable? And so they're just learning and doing and applying things just like any other person would do, like a researcher would do about learning about fake videos or field research.
Alex, you are muted, I think.
Yeah, I was taking it. I'm a complete mess, but
no, you're good. You're good, man.
Thank you. Yeah, that's why I'm kind of leaning more towards the thermal videos and the FLIR stuff, not just FLIR specifically, other thermals, which I think are interesting. On that note, somebody added a really great comment. Paul Holland said, saw interesting Yowie thermal footage in the past few days. So I remember seeing it a couple weeks ago, actually. I think Bobo or Cliff shared it, a thing about the Yowie hunters in Australia, and they have this interesting clip. I've been kind of trying to talk to them a little bit, and hopefully can make something out of that. But yeah, so it's really cool. I just like, and another person has commented, yeah, people talking about that Yowie stuff and the thermal thing, but very cool. So awesome to see that. I mean, it's one of those things, as you said, that's just kind of been going around for a long time, and it's just one of those videos that makes the rounds, and then will make the rounds again a few years after when more people get into the subject and, kind of start sharing that stuff around again. So I think we'll transition then to the last video that you had, which I also couldn't download, but we'll just play it on YouTube. The audio is not really that important. It's, there's nothing really said or anything. It's just a video. This is the Independence Day footage. People have definitely seen this one. So we'll just kind of let it play in its entirety. And if you guys have any comments or want to say anything about it, go right ahead.
So supposedly this is a Bigfoot kind of going across the screen. And some people say they actually can see it like carrying a younger, like baby Bigfoot, I believe is the idea here.
Right. Yeah, the audio is basically just forest noises. There's no commentary or anything, which is interesting. But you'll see the creature, pops up there.
Peeking up. So obviously there's
you can see the baby
two heads there.
Right.
Yeah.
So I believe this is now a zoomed in sort of look at when it pops out that first time. You can see the head there in the sun because it's not holding anything there. And then it goes down, and that's when it actually picks up the object or the baby.
Which it looks like the baby is actually moving as well.
Right.
Yeah, which is a pretty big thing. It's not just like I'm picking up like a fake doll or something.
Okay. Yeah. So it's interesting. And there you go. There's some stills. But what are your thoughts, Jeremiah? I mean, it's obviously one of those ones that's also been making the rounds all over the place.
I am so scared this has been disproven too, Alex. I couldn't find anything. I think it's pretty cool. It keeps coming up all over the place. I don't know if I would put it in the same category, definitely, as like the Patterson-Gimlin or like the Freeman footage, but like I think it's pretty cool. There's obviously something moving, whatever is being picked up there and then carried across. So sure. I think it's pretty cool footage, but curious to think whatever feedback everyone else has about it.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I just recently watched a video breakdown on it by Mountain Beast Mysteries. My buddy Justin, he's been on the show as well. He did a pretty interesting analysis of it. I think that it's fake, unfortunately. Okay. Cool. Here's my theory, and this, I remember when this came out. This was like I think 2016. I don't know if this is the original channel that posted or not. I don't believe so, but it was well before 2016. I think the baby is actually like a hand puppet of some kind, as in this thing in the costume, this guy in the costume, guy or gal, whatever, supposedly it's a female Bigfoot, but this person takes, maybe has a hand puppet and puts their hand inside and then is like articulating the head a little bit. Wow, yeah. And in the video that Justin did, he actually showed a costume on screen that looked pretty similar. So it's an interesting piece of footage, but
okay,
pretty cool. What do the rest of the guys think? Tate or Greg, go ahead.
I wish it was real. It would be awesome. It's a great shot. I can imagine a scenario in my head of this baby was left there just to fend for itself for a minute, and then people showed up and mom kind of panicked and ran over and grabbed it and took off. So I don't know. I don't know what to say, honestly. Still a bit blobby. I couldn't say one way or another.
Sure. Tate, what do you think?
I don't know. I don't think it's real either. The Bigfoot in this looks shaped a lot like Patty.
Yeah, that's actually true.
Like,
Yeah.
I swear it's almost identical in the shape. Then, like, the baby, I don't know. The baby is what could make it real, because I don't think a lot of people are faking holding babies. There was that Finding Bigfoot episode where they were in New York. I can't remember where. It was like the early year seasons. And there was something in a tree with a baby too. Or there was like one on the ground, like maybe a baby in the tree. So, like I said, it's always 50-50, but I'm leaning towards more of it being fake. Just because it has a lot of views doesn't mean it's real.
Right.
I think it's just fake. And again, like I said, it's YouTube. YouTube is not the most reliable place for a lot of things like this.
Totally. Yeah, I remember when it first broke, and it must have been pre-2016 for sure. But that was still when blogs were still a thing. So I remember seeing it on, I think, Cryptomundo and a couple of other blogs. And it was just interesting because people said, oh my God, this is the best thing since Patterson-Gimlin. And maybe that's the reaction they were trying to elicit. But I think the hand puppet thing works pretty interestingly. Let's see what people say. People in the comments are definitely being pretty hard on it. They're saying it's definitely been debunked. Kevin Hamilton says, yeah, Mountain Beast Mysteries broke this video down pretty good. I don't think he came to a conclusion either way in the end. Yeah, I know he was talking about a little bit how he thought originally it was really good, but then, as the years went by, some doubts were cast upon it. John Horrigan's actually watching. What's going on, John? He says Ivan Marks-ish. So Ivan Marks was a noted Bigfoot hoaxer, had a lot of the famous Bigfoot pictures that you see that actually end up used a lot of times in news pieces, like stock footage stuff, are some of the Marks photos, which are interesting. And so people don't like that video. I like I said, I don't think it's real, but I think it's interesting, and it certainly shows that somebody went to quite a length to actually create this or get this costume, create the creature or the baby. So I think that's pretty interesting. And but as we've been saying, keeping with the theme, it's definitely one that's been all over the place, been shared left and right, and a lot of people will point to it. But the one thing I did want to point out though is, imagine if this was shot in film, right? You'd have so much more clarity. I mean, when we're talking digital, people often think digital is better. I don't know why. Film is just, you can do so much with it. I mean, unless it's a really good camera, but this was obviously probably some cheap cell phone camera or something along those lines. So pretty interesting. Thank you for sharing.
Did anyone do a size comparison for this video? Like
of this video?
Investigate it further? Like go to the site?
I don't believe there's been anything done on it. I'm not sure.
But I want to say, like,
I think that would help a lot in pardon me?
No, it's just funny that he said film that it shows you would have more clarity. Because I think they said, like, if the Patterson-Gimlin film was filmed in digital, with modern camera, you probably wouldn't have as much clarity. As weird as that sounds, and if you had the very first original copy of the film, there would be so much clarity on that first copy that you'd probably be able to prove pretty fast and quick if it was a hoax or not from the Patterson-Gimlin film. So, yeah, I do agree with that statement.
Sure, yeah, and that's what's interesting. A lot of those older videos videos or photos, taken on film cameras, and man, I'm still getting so much feedback. I don't know if everyone else getting that feedback, or is that just on my end?
Yeah, I'm getting it, dude.
I'm trying to figure it out, and even when Tate's mic is off, and it's still really weird. But Outcast Jeff says it's really hard with videos and pictures to conclude that it is real. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I do photography and obviously I'm a filmmaker, but I'm not like an expert in costume design and that sort of stuff. So it can be tough, and people will go to some pretty interesting lengths to try and fake this kind of stuff, especially in the modern day and age. The older stuff, that's what's interesting, because it's the technology just wasn't there as it is today. So very cool. Thank you for sharing that.
we
Yeah,
did
thanks
have,
for the discussion, guys.
Go
we
ahead,
talked
Greg.
about the PG film on a Clubhouse
Oh,
recently.
that was
and
awesome, dude.
Tyler Strand came on, and Tyler is he was on Hellier,
Yep.
but he is a professional special effects artist.
Mm-hmm.
So he was able to explain about the technology in the 60s versus today and how it wasn't there.
Right.
That,
Yeah,
so-
well, even with Planet of the Apes, I mean, the guy who did those costumes that came around at the same time said he couldn't make something like that. And Tate, obviously, with the Bluff Creek project, that has been trying to find the site, preserve the original film site, and maybe at some point be able to determine size comparisons to see if it would fit in human range or not. But it's the PGF film is the saga that never ends.
Yeah, the whole thing of the debate trying to find out how tall she is. First of all, you're trying to figure out where she actually walked. I think that's the first step, because you can't figure out how tall she is until you find out where she was standing when Roger shot the film. Because we know where Roger was standing, but we don't know where Patty was. So once you figure that out, then you can start doing the size comparison. And also, too, trying to figure out the lens that Roger used, because different lenses will give different sizes, and things will be wider and further back or closer depending on the lens size you use. So there's a whole bunch of things that are going into this that the Bluff Creek project is still actively looking into each year.
Was not Cliff Barrickman able to determine the size based on the cast? He just blew up the picture of Patty until it was the same size as the cast.
No comment on public.
It's in his museum, though.
What? It's in the museum.
This will be something I can talk about after.
Okay, interesting. kind of teasing us there, Tate. But all right. So I guess it's interesting with the Patterson-Gimlin film. But moving on, let's see what Greg has to offer, since we're gonna save Tate for the end there. So, Greg, do you have a preference of which one I show here?
Not necessarily. You can roll them out, and I'll just kind of
Okay,
see
cool.
what you got as they come up.
All right. We'll first pop
I
in
tried to
the...
do land, sea, and air.
What's that?
I tried to do land, sea, and air.
Oh, land, sea, and air. Perfect. Yeah, that's awesome. So let's start out with air then, since we haven't really done any air cryptids so far. Let me just get rid of this video, and I'll pop it right in the screen here. All righty, let's see. Here we go. So here is the first photo. So this is yeah, go ahead if you want to talk a little bit about it.
This is the classic flying humanoid. What was it? The Chicago Mothman picture. I'm baffled. I don't know of any birds with a tail like that, or that have legs that long that trail as it flies. I find it compelling. It kind of reminds me of like a guy in a suit, like the Falcon from the Avengers.
Yeah, it's very creepy looking. I mean, you have these strange wings and
It looks like
the
separate legs.
It's weird looking. Yeah, I'm gonna actually. What I'll do is there was a couple other photos too, and we'll pull those ones up. Let's see. Oh, there's a nice mountain lion. But here, these are the other photos, I believe, in that sequence, right?
Yes.
So you have obviously this one that we just looked at, and then these ones almost look more, I don't know, moth-like, bird, not moth-like, Mothman-like, bird-like.
Yeah.
Got this one, and then this one as well.
In those, it really gives me this sense of like a bird of prey, a hawk or a turkey vulture, something like that. But in the sideways photo, like the side profile, it totally throws me off, just the length of the body, unless it has something in its talons and it's flying behind it. I don't know really.
Right. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about
comparison,
it.
how do you judge that?
Right, that's something that's really tough. Yeah, without knowing a little bit more of the background. And oh man, I'm just getting so much feedback here. I don't know if it is it. I think it must be my end. But anyway, yeah, it's just really kind of creepy. I don't know a whole lot of the background information on it. You know, whether or not where it was taken, when it was taken. But I've definitely seen it floating around the internet for quite a while. So, anybody else have any thoughts about that? About winged creepy cryptids?
Yeah, I wish there was like a way that I could have something for size, like to see how big it actually is. I love this photo though. Kevin said something in the comments which is really interesting. He said bird with a snake in its talons, maybe. That's a really cool idea. But I mean, this photo is super cool. I love it. But a lot of questions, definitely.
Yeah, there's Kevin's comment.
I've seen a bird, I don't know what type of bird of prey it was, but come down and grab a snake and fly back off with it. Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Yeah, that's actually real. That's a super interesting theory. Thank you for sharing that, Kevin.
So if it's a bird with a snake, it could be like an owl, possibly. I was gonna say maybe a crane, but the head is too short. Are there cranes in Illinois? I think there is, but I don't know.
Their necks are usually much longer, and they have a long beak usually.
Right. Yeah, interesting. John also says, looks like a large raptor carrying a frog, question mark. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's all pretty interesting. And that's, Paul said sort of the same thing. Maybe it's a big bird with a snake in its talons. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things without more background information, going to be hard to tell either way. But we have, looks like Ashley from the Asher is saying there's no way that's a crane, maybe an owl though. Yeah, I've seen barred owls, swoop out and grab little critters and eat them in a tree, and it's pretty. They can look pretty creepy, some of these owls, but I don't know with this photo, but it really is cool. It reminds me of Mothman the most, just that sort of classic sort of look, which is really cool. But it definitely fits that flying humanoid sort of profile.
Definitely, that's what's exciting about this topic is we're not sure, and we're left to guess.
Right. Oh, totally. And it's a lot of speculation, and it's like just a lot of the videos they could put out that are purposefully fake or ones that are very ambiguous. It's kind of fun to sift through it, and everyone's bringing their own perspectives, whether or not they have some sort of professional background or not, to guesstimate or even be able to comment on it, which I think is just kind of cool, and we're just having fun with it. People keep saying to if you guys have time, check out the Yowie Hunters thermal.
I was going to bring that up. We got to give the people what they want at the end.
We will totally do that. Oh no, absolutely,
they want it, dude.
People have been talking about it. It's really fun. So what I'll do is when we'll finish up with when we're finished with this, we'll pull that up for a little bit, because that's pretty awesome. But all right, very cool. Thank you for that, sharing that first one there, Greg. Let's pull up now the scariest Bigfoot encounter. Now, I don't know a whole lot about this. Let's see if the file is pretty big, but hopefully it'll work. Cryptid files should be good. Oh, here we go.
Love the mechanical movements of it. It pops up so
dunking down over there.
Mechanically.
Yeah, I guess they're seeing what looks like eye shine. So, yeah, right.
Ooh.
Up and down.
I'm gonna keep dunking down for, damn it. Big hill here. This is where it was standing at. thought I'd get over here in time. Well, that was a rock. Oh, shit. It's behind me there. Damn. There was. So them damn rocks are getting close.
It's a pretty long video. There's a lot going on there. I don't know if the rest of it is just follow-ups or breakdowns, but yeah, it's interesting.
There's a lot of like in slow motion, zoomed in and enhanced, and adaptations to the video. But yeah, that was on. I found it on NVTV, which is on YouTube. I'm not sure of the original source. It's not giving that information on their YouTube channel, but
yeah. So I have it pulled up here. I don't, yeah, and as you said, I don't know. It just says scariest Bigfoot footage, brave man alone in the woods, becomes the creepiest Sasquatch on camera. I don't know anything about the origins. I don't know about the comments, but definitely kind of creepy. I mean, possible to see eye shine from other animals that are sort of up and down. But anybody in the comments know the origins of that, or?
The way it was popping up and down, like it almost looked like it could have been like a deer or something, like going down to like ducking its neck. Right.
Well, supposedly he's getting rocks thrown at him. That's what he's saying, at least in the video as it's kind of going on. Of course, YouTube wants to play ads, so
that was fake for sure. That lady.
Yeah. No, but that's definitely interesting. I mean, that's the thing with these videos where it's so dark like that and you have the eye shine. For me, it's just very difficult to kind of see what or figure out what's going on. If he's getting rocks thrown at them and he's getting kind of worried, I mean, it could be really interesting acting, or he's kind of playing a character a bit, but I don't know. I don't know enough about it. I feel like I'm going to keep saying that. There's just a lot of
it was really Blair Witchy.
The only one
to me.
Yeah, it was really Blair Witchy. Like I'm a little freaked out either way, but
yeah, it even looked at him.
Yeah, when the rock got thrown, you could actually see it hit by his feet. I think it was Blair just acting in there.
Right. So people in the comments are saying Robert Dobson or Dodson, and they said he's passed away. His name was Robert Dodson. And it says some people are saying he was a hoaxer. I really don't know a lot about who Robert Dodson or Dobson was. If we can come to a consensus about the name, but yeah, creepy stuff. I mean, it's always creepy when you're out in the dark and you're seeing that eye shine, and especially if you're getting rocks thrown at you. I mean, that narrows it down what it could be. There's pretty much it's only human or Sasquatch basically.
I think it's Robert Lee Dodson with two D's.
Gotcha.
So I saw something. I looked it up on the internet.
Oh, right on.
Something about Bigfoot in there. I'll have to send it to you guys or something.
So
cool. Yeah, it's creepy for sure.
I don't think there's any video we're gonna be like, that's 100% Bigfoot.
Yeah, no,
and there it is, and less.
Right. Well, obviously, we're having fun and we're just sharing videos that each of us thought were interesting and, kind of either had some sort of value in terms of the witnesses or whatever the case may be. So right on. So now that was land. So we already did air and land. Now we're going to do sea. So let's see that.
This is a short one.
Ha ha ha. Sorry, my jokes are terrible. So I'm going to pull that up on the screen here. Add to stream. Okay, there we go. So we have mystery ocean creature caught on GoPro while kayak fishing and still unidentified. So we'll just play that. There's not really anything audio-wise as well that you'd be missing.
So I don't know if it made a sound or something, but he certainly whipped his head around.
Oh,
That's some-
okay. I was like, I'm not seeing anything. But
Yeah, it's hard
like
to
out
see a
there.
bit, but so we can pause it on.
there. So what can you say? It's the smallest little fin or something
Right.
sticking in the water.
What's not to say that's a shark fin? Like, that's the first thing I would think of. But
Yeah.
that's weird.
This is
This is
definitely
published in-
real footage of
2013, while fishing on the Wild Big Sur coast. I was surrounded by dense fog, not able to see the shore or anything else. He had his GoPro on his kayak. The only fear factor is when you watch it later, you can see what was actually behind you. So he wasn't scared at the time and then watched it afterwards. I guess it must have been something pretty big.
Okay.
It seemed like he was quite frightened by the whole ordeal.
Big Sur, though. That's where. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Tate.
He says he saw something out of his peripheral vision, but had no idea what it was. Out in the wild ocean of Big Sur, you can see anything from killer whales, dolphins, great white sharks, gray whales, otters, and sea lions. I'm not exactly sure what this one is, but a little scary to know I wasn't alone. It never appeared on the camera again.
Interesting. Now it seems he has his
I feel
like to dislike ratio is not great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. I've never seen that's pretty wild.
So he doesn't claim it to be like the Loch Ness Monster or anything. I don't understand the hate people have. He just says mystery ocean creature. I mean, that could be a fin, that could be a seal's head, could be one of those like swimming birds, the cormorants or something that go under the water and maybe came up. But let's see what people in the comments are saying. Quickwitty says, too far, shark fin. Ashley says, this could be absolutely anything, totally. Nathan says, seal. Kevin Hamilton says that could literally be anything. John Horgan actually says he is chroma keyed. Watch how he doesn't move when the waves roll under him. Play it again and imagine he is chroma keyed. Okay, so maybe he's saying that he's not even out there on the water. Interesting. Map 11 says, I thought seal too. So interesting. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a mystery ocean creature. That's it. The title is not lying. I mean, it could be any of those things, but hopefully, it's not a huge shark that would be larger than the kayak, because that would be pretty terrifying, especially if you were out there. Very cool, though. Well, awesome. All right, so moving on. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Those are awesome. I loved the Bigfoot with the eye shine in particular. I just think that was cool. And I love the theories that everyone has too. A lot of great, I never would have thought the bird with the snake in its claws. I mean, that's really cool for that photo that we showed of the air portion there. But awesome. All right, so moving on, let's talk about Tate. You want to intro a little bit into some of this stuff, Tate?
So, you don't want to show all of it, do you? Or do you want to?
You tell me what you want me to show.
We can do because there's a few photos. Well, one of the photos, there's a few photos that go along with that.
Okay, so do you want to start with that? Is there any particular you want me to begin with? How about I pull up I'll just put it up on the screen and then you can tell me.
I can tell. Well, I got the pictures on my computer. That's why I've been looking down a lot, because I can't see on the tiny screen.
Oh, yeah, I gotcha.
If you want to go to the screenshot of the FLIR photo itself, just the full FLIR photo.
This one?
Is
this the one?
There's a delay, so I'm not seeing it yet.
Oh, sorry. I totally didn't realize that. My bad. Is this the one?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so I'll just pop it open. We can full screen it here. All righty.
So yeah,
go ahead, Tate.
This was 2017, I believe. This was an undisclosed location just outside of Santa Clarita, California. Actually, I spent the day with Matt Moneymaker from Finding Bigfoot and BFRO, going around and talking to other people that had sightings in this kind of general area. And so at the end of the day, I was like, "Hey, where should we go?" And he's like, "Go to this parking lot and stay here, and then there's a trail you can walk down, and you can do some calls." So he said that, and then a year before that, I actually asked Cliff where I should go, and he said, "Yeah, go to this same spot." And actually, I found possible tracks there. So that's kind of what led me back there to that area when I met with Matt, and then I asked him where I should go, and he said this area. But me and a buddy were out looking around, we were hanging out and having some beers and eating some snacks and stuff, just not really doing much and not thinking anything was going to happen. We ended up walking down a trail, doing some knocks and calls, and I ended up getting a response call back. And that's why we ended up walking back to this overlook and looking, and we ended up getting this footage, which is, there's actually 2 minutes of FLIR footage. It's not out yet. It'll be out because I'm doing a new film. I'm going to do a better investigation on it. So that's going to be out, the full video. But for now, I got this photo I thought would be interesting to talk about. You can definitely see this is when it stood up. It's at the edge of that. It's on the ridge right there by that tree. It stood up vertically, and it definitely wasn't a bear or mountain lion, because I was just trying to do like process of elimination, what kind of behavior it was exhibiting. And it wasn't like, because when we got there, it was watching us before we saw it. That's not very bear-like behavior or mountain-like behavior or deer behavior, especially from almost 300 feet away, I think, in the dark. It was really odd. And the chance of it being a human, I would say 0 to none, because there was a bunch of hunting going on that day. So I don't think it'd be the smartest idea to prank people who might or might not have guns, because you run the risk of being shot at. So it was very interesting. The other interesting part that whole day is I probably counted 20 deer in that whole area. There was a lot of deer.
Nice. So yeah, so this has basically not been released, and this is a freeze frame from that footage, right?
Yeah.
So Mike actually has a question. Tactical Bigfoot Research, what's going on, Mike? He says, Tate, did you have your settings on white hot or black hot?
I had it on white hot. You can definitely still see it. It's a little slimmer with white hot.
Right. Do you want me to pull up any of the other images?
Yeah, so I made like a legend. Did you get that?
This right here, yep.
Yeah. So this is a Google image site of where we were.
Okay, so that's pretty cool. That's awesome that you did that.
So yeah, you can see. I'm gonna go to my picture. So the location number 1, that's where we were parked, and we kind of walked down this trail, which represents the dark blue line, to location number 2, where we did the calls and got a response. So like location number 2 to location 4, that was that's representing the direction in which I heard the call response back. And then location 2 to 3 is the trail we walked back to that overlook where I actually got the FLIR footage. And 3 to 4 is the line of sight that we were looking off in that direction. So obviously you can see it was really close to the parking lot.
Right.
Probably a few minute walk out there, but when you see that site in person, you drive probably for an hour up a mountain on a dirt road. And it was interesting to me, the more I think about it now. In the Bluff Creek area, we think a lot of the action happens on the ridges up there. And this was pretty much dead on a ridge right here. Either side of us, it was really steep. So it's very interesting. And then just real quickly, there's a couple of daylight photos from during the day we went back.
Oh, okay. Wow. Look at this area. That is neat.
So yeah, you can kind of see the trees in the footage that were there. If you zoom in, you can kind of see the ridge. Yeah, and I did like an overlay of the thermal video.
Ah, cool.
So you can
So,
kind of see
yeah,
where it was at.
Right, it would have been right in that area. So it would have been, I mean, if you're looking at the regular image, it would have been somewhere right around here. I don't know if you guys can see where I'm highlighting on the screen.
So yeah, you could see like if too. Also, when I go back out there, I'm gonna film it with the drone to kind of show you how hard it would have been to run from the spot we were at around to get to it. Because whatever it was, we couldn't run straight. Obviously, you can see all those trees and how steep it is. And it would see us coming, and we can't run around because you have to walk down a trail just to get over to it. So
Right.
there would have been no way to get that if we wanted to. So, and the distance is pretty far as well.
Yeah, right on. Awesome. Now, did you want me to pull up the photos of the alleged prints too?
Yeah, I got a couple of them.
Okay, I'll just kind of put them side by side here. We got this one. We got another one here. Oh, if I can.
So this was the print. So I had a buddy visiting from Iowa, and I asked him if he wanted to go camping. And the reason I went out there is because Cliff was like, "Yeah, go check out this area." But we went kind of in like the winter time, or just coming out of winter, so the gates were closed. So we ended up hiking. And I was just looking around. Doesn't mean other people have gone up there, but this is either a bear print or a Bigfoot print, because I know there's Bigfoots out there. I think Cliff has casted his first tracks out there, so was Matt in this area, and it's rich with history because there's a lady that had a Bigfoot sighting not too far from there. So that's the photo that I had that I tweeted to Matt Moneymaker, and which ended up us back out there and me getting the thermal footage. So I didn't have a ruler, but I'm 5'11", so I don't know. I don't know my shoe size, but that's not a very small print, obviously.
Yeah, awesome. And I think there's one more. Wasn't there another print photo in there? Yeah.
But what do you guys think of it?
The width of it's pretty crazy. Really wide.
Yeah, it's like I can't. If maybe you could see claw marks if it was a bear, but I don't know. It looked interesting to me, so I really wanted to get a photo. I'm not positive on what it was or what it, so I can't say for sure, but it just looked suspect and interesting to me. Could have been a bear walking up a hill, which is probably what it is most likely. But also the ground out there is kind of hard, so it'd have to be something pretty heavy to leave a print out there. So there's a whole bunch of things to look at. Like I said, I can't say for sure what it was, but it's probably a bear. And I just stepped on the right spot at the right time, and it looked really good. So why not photograph it?
I'd seen it. I would have been like, that's interesting. I just don't know what it is. And I probably would be torn between a bear versus something else. So yeah, I'm not quite sure. It is a little weird though, Tate.
Yeah, I think it might be a bear. Because there's a lot of black bears out there, but it is weird. I mean, given that there is Bigfoots out there in that area, there's always a chance, but I think it's more of like a migration area versus a place where they're at constantly. So for it to be a Bigfoot, I think would be pretty slim. So like I said, I think most likely it's a bear because I've seen a lot of bear tracks out there before. So, but it has that weird shape to it, like if it was a human foot. But again, I still don't know.
Right. No, it's interesting. I mean, that's what's it's tough with a lot of the tracking conditions, in this sort of substrate, I guess if you want to call it that. It's tough dealing with the dirt and the rocks like that. It's not great for tracking. And, New England, we deal with a lot of very bad leaf litter and everything. So it's tough to get good prints. So I'm kind of used to seeing ambiguous stuff like this where, I mean, it could be a bear, could be a human, could be a Sasquatch. It's all so hard to say. But it's good that we're all like just being able to kind of look at it with a rational head, because some other folks might see this and say this was 100% a Sasquatch. But Tate, you're the one that took this, the area, and it's obviously great to hear about the back story of it all. But you're not just like rushing forward and saying this is 100% Bigfoot, which is refreshing, because there are people in this field that everything is Bigfoot, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree. That's I would like it to be a Bigfoot, obviously, but you can't do that. And it's a dangerous game. It's not healthy as a researcher to say everything is Bigfoot, because then everything is Bigfoot. That's the downside.
Right. And this is a different photo as well?
This was in the Bluff Creek region, actually.
Oh, wow.
We were out there with the Bluff Creek because we go out there a couple times a year. This was in July. So we were in this. I mean, there's people that go up to this spot, obviously, but nobody was walking barefoot. But it does have a weird shape, because it doesn't look like a human foot. Because if you see like a human foot on the beach, if it was barefoot, you would see like the ball of the heel and that really skinny, would be not arch, right? Or I don't know.
Yeah, the section here would be a little bit more kind of curved in, you'd imagine.
And I feel like it looks like a human footprint, but it doesn't look like the shape of a boot, because the outside of the left is really rounded.
Right.
Like a boot print would be. And you kind of see on the right side, it kind of goes in, just like a footprint would. So, I don't know. It's very...
Now, let me ask, were there any other footprints either in front of it or behind it that you guys could discern?
That's the thing. We were looking, but also this is like a little parking lot area, so people drive up there. So somebody could have ran over it and not noticed it. I mean, we could have easily made that mistake, even if it was a human print or not.
Right.
We could have ran over it, but we were kind of looking, and it was like going from the direction it was heading was kind of from back behind, over across the road, out of the forest, down towards the forest, going down the hill. So that was the direction of travel, at least, whether if there was a car somebody was going to or not, or if it was a person or not. The range wasn't outside of a boot print. I know that.
Right.
So I think it might be a boot print, just because there's, it's pretty wild out there, but it's not uncommon for people to be out there.
Right.
But at the same time, it's also very rich in history with really famous footprints, because not like maybe a mile or so is where Jerry Crew cast some tracks, and Roger Patterson and Larry Meadow cast tracks. So I don't know. For me, it's like 50-50, but I'm leaning towards more of it being a human.
That's still, it's cool, and thank you for sharing it. Obviously, in such a historic location, in the Bluff Creek area. Ashley says, I think this will be great. Those are some great prints, and while the footage will be hard, it's the backstory that makes it. And then Tactical Bigfoot Research as well says, I'm looking forward to your film, Tate. So that film is going to include the part of the thermal footage too, and just talking about Bigfoot in this region, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be covering Bluff Creek again, because that's like one of my favorite places to go all the time. I think it's funny because Jeremiah, I asked that question to Seth and on your show, and Seth was like, Tate's always going back to Bluff Creek. So it's so true. But yeah. No, that's gonna, the FLIR footage, the whole thing's gonna be in there, and I'm gonna be interviewed in it. And then my buddy who was actually with me that night is gonna be interviewed, and he's actually really skeptical of the Bigfoot phenomenon. If you ask him, it's interesting. He'll say, I don't know what it was, but I can't explain it either. So it's a little teaser for you guys. But yeah, I'm going to be covering that and then a bunch of stuff at Bluff Creek and all over.
Awesome. Right on. Yeah, good stuff. Is there anything else you wanted to share from your photos or videos?
I think I sent audio, but do you think the audio would be good enough to play it? Because it's kind of quiet.
Which one? There's if you can tell me which one, I could definitely pop one of them in. We can listen to that. I can crank the volume up on it.
So yeah, okay, so there's one that's 57 seconds with it's me and James Boba Fett and another, I said the researcher's first name. I just want to say his last name.
Gotcha.
For his privacy, but that's this was in the same place, kind of in the general mountain range that I got those prints and thermal video. This is on a BFR expedition. Me and Bobo and this other researcher, Robert, we ended up going off and splitting off that night and doing our own thing for 3 hours and hanging out. So we did 2 tandem whoops on one direction and did another tandem whoop on the other direction. And I actually left my phone on my hood of my car recording, and we probably went up a few hundred yards up the other way. And kind of where my car was pointing in the opposite direction we were, there's a bunch of dead trees, and it was kind of windy that night. So you can kind of hear acorns falling by my car. You can hear the wind definitely. But there was a knock on here. We didn't hear it from where we were, but it was interesting because it sounded like a baseball bat hitting one of these dead trees. I mean, it was pretty loud, and I made like a little white blip that pops up for when the sound knocks. So yeah, you can play it if you want.
All right, so what I'll play is I'll just mute all of our mics so we can just focus on that. So let me just pop that in here. Yeah, I definitely heard that at the end there, and you could see the blip. I'm going to play that one more time for folks. I'll just play it a couple times actually on that same area. So let's just play that real quick. Yeah, it sounds like a single sort of hit. Something I've heard out there as well.
And I didn't have any wood knockers with me. I didn't have anything. You can obviously tell from our sound, it was pretty loud from those whoops. So if I had something to if I even had like a 2x4, because I have like this 2x4 and like this, I don't know what they're called, but it would have been really loud from that closer range. So that was interesting. I was like, man, that's awesome. So it was super weird because you see what I mean when it sounds like a baseball bat hitting like almost like a dead hollow tree, because there's a bunch of dead trees up there. So it sounded really hollow.
It sounds pretty quiet in that area. It doesn't sound like there's a lot of wind or other stuff going on.
It depends on the day. I mean, you could try the other video and see if it'll work, but I don't know the other audio.
Let's see what these guys think about that. What do you guys think about that sound? Jeremiah and Greg.
I mean, I would say definitely there is something hitting something, and it does sound like how you described it. So yeah, I'm gonna say, yeah, that's totally a wood knock. Why wouldn't it be? You know?
Yeah, definitely. Greg?
There we go. Okay. I've been walking in the woods before, and I've heard what I thought was a knock and look back and see a branch fall from a tree. So could have just been like a dead branch breaking off. Usually you'd hear like a little crash after when it hit the ground, but it sounded knockish. There's a theory that it's not actually sticks they're using to hit the trees with too. A lot of people think that it's rocks, because
I've heard that. Yeah.
it makes a little more sense even to me. Like it will make that more percussive sound.
Yeah, I think the fact that there was a lot of dead trees, you could find a stick to hit a tree with up there very easily. But there's also a lot of rocks out there too. So you got a dead tree and a rock, and it's gonna make that really sound. It almost sounds like a metallic-y knock. Versus like sometimes I think they'll do like a clap or something like that. Doesn't really sound leathery, if that makes sense. It sounds more metallic.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's also some people think that there's maybe a chest beating element to it, or even palms, as clapping kind of thing. I mean, from what I can tell, it sounds like something is hitting or falling another tree. It sounds like knocks I've heard. I mean, in the upcoming film that I've got coming out, some of the audio I have are like one of them is a really loud knock kind of thing. So I don't know. Some of the ones I've heard, knocks that I've heard sound extremely woody. Like there's just that wood quality to them. Other ones sound more like rock on rock or some other material. One that I've heard actually with my brother is very almost metallic sounding, just like a single loud, clear knock. And I think that's the way he described it. But let's see what people are saying. Oh, Tate, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say we can do the other one after. I want to hear what other people are saying too.
Okay. So let's just see. Teflon 66V says that's a quality wood knock. Asher from the Asher says rocks would definitely make for more acoustics on the dead trees. Yeah, that's something interesting when we're talking about the rocks and the clapping as well. When I was in the Pacific Northwest recently, the people at the Olympic Project were saying, well, look, usually it's raining here. A lot of the trees have moss and they're punky and dead, and getting, wood on wood sound is pretty difficult in some of those conditions. So something, maybe like the clapping might make a little more sense. I don't know. I mean, I think it depends. Like I said, the ones I've heard, super woody, some of them just sound really woody. So I don't know. I'm just kind of relaying that off of personal experience. Kevin Hamilton adds, some people think that they do this with their teeth or mouths. Really interesting. That's actually a behavior in gorillas. They can like pop their teeth and make it sound this really weird noise. Yeah, or like a popping in the mouth of some kind. I don't know. Raptor Crazy says it sounded like rock on rock, but then the third one was like a rock on steel. I don't know. I mean, it was, I think it was, yeah, go ahead, Tate.
There was only one.
I think maybe I played it a few times, so maybe they drew the conclusion at the end that it was like that. I'm not sure, but yeah, really interesting. So I guess we can play the other one then if you want, Tate, real quick, and then we'll move on to the Yowie stuff. What's that?
You want me to give context on it real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
So this was in the Bluff Creek area, Louse Camp. Bobo's had sightings there. Bart Catino's had some near there, and a few other people. This was my very first time to Bluff Creek. So we ended up getting to Louse Camp at 12 o'clock and getting in bed at 1 in the morning. And some researcher friends told me, like, if you have an audio recorder, hit record and lay it down in your tent while you sleep so you can check the audio later. So I had my phone. I didn't have any professional recording devices. So I just put my phone on the recorder and started recording, went to bed. And so I kind of went through a few hours of audio. It's really, really, really faint because it sounds far away. And also you can hear the creek in Louse Camp running. So I tried to do like with the knock, I put that little dot there when the knock happened. So on this, I try to put like a whoop when the whoop happened. There's a hound and a knock. So it's really faint, so you gotta kind of listen for it. So yeah, you can go ahead for it. This was 2015 in July.
Okay, cool. Let me just pop that in. And that is this one. Here we go. All right, so there you have it. It was a little hard to hear.
Yeah, it's super hard to hear. Like if you wear like headphones and listen to
Yeah.
it, it's really great. I'll post that on the Bluff Creek Project podcast page, and we'll post it on the Bluff Creek Project Facebook, and I'll post it on YouTube, so anybody who wants to listen to it can.
Right on.
It's like I said, it's really quiet. The knock you can probably hear the best, but everything, it's like I said, it's super quiet, and you got that white noise of the creek that's really just drawing out that noise and drowning out the sounds behind it.
Awesome. Yeah. Anybody else have any? Oh, I mean, I guess it's hard to comment on that, but no, I definitely will. I'll have to listen to it on my own as well, Tate, to see, what I can hear, maybe turn it up and turn it up on my end, throw it into Audacity or something, just audio wise, and just listen to it. But no doubt that it's a very squatchy area, certainly, that you're in. So the context, I think, is important when it comes to these kinds of things.
Yeah, I agree.
Right on. So, okay. So I think that that wraps it up then for that sort of portion. Thanks, Tate, for sharing a little bit more on the personal side of, stuff that you've had happen out there. Obviously, you've had the awesome fortune of being in some of those super squatchy areas, that are associated with Bigfoot, and whether it's the PGF film or just in other parts of California as well. So kudos to you, and definitely that'll be cool for the film. So let's just see a couple of comments here before we're going to show that Yowie footage. So we're going to go to that, unless anybody else has any other comments about all the stuff we just discussed. So Sherry Shaw says, thank you guys for a good show. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. John Horgan says, fantastic show. Thank you. It's just fun a little bit different. Obviously, we've been just trying to make it work somehow. Oh, actually, here's a question for Tate from Kevin. He says, Tate, do you ever worry that because the area is so squatchy, there might be people out there messing with all the squatchers?
That's always in the back of my mind, definitely. I think that's the thing. That's another reason I think Bluff Creek is so tapped out, in my opinion, is because it's so squatchy. And so one of the things I think I try to do, and I think we try to do, is we don't tell people exactly when we go. Also, I think a lot of people who are not familiar, I mean, they know of Bluff Creek, obviously, and they probably heard Last Camp from like the Tom Slick expedition and everything, but they don't really know how to get there, except for local people. But yeah, I do worry about it. And the area that I was researching in Southern California, where I got that thermal video and the knock with Bobo, I believe I was the only BFRO investigator in that whole general area because it was the Ventura area. So I didn't really make it public where I was going, except just for a handful of people that don't really know anybody outside that area. So as far as hoaxes out there, I don't think so, but probably in the Bluff Creek area, who knows?
Right. Yeah. It's always important to know if you're in an area where there might be other people hanging around, and just kind of help set the scene and make sure there's not anything weird going on. Sorry, go ahead.
Also, like normal people don't go out there and hoax unless they have nothing better to do at 3 a.m. It's such a far drive out there. There's only a few roads in there, and we would see anybody coming in. So, I mean, the chances are still there, but they're unlikely.
Right.
Just because we'll hear a noise and we'll drive up to another spot and we'll see if there's any cars. It's not impossible to find somebody out there, but doesn't mean that people couldn't do it.
Sure. Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, in some of these really remote areas, it would be super weird to have people, going out there and faking stuff. It is possible. I mean, we always have to consider the possibility, but if you're able to eliminate that, then that's a good thing. But awesome, very cool. So now we're going to show the Yowie hunters footage. Okay, so this is actually really cool. I saw this a couple weeks ago, I believe, when I think it was Bobo or Cliff that I mentioned that they posted a link to it or something like that. So I'll just check out the context here real quick. So it's a channel called the Yowie Hunters Witness Audio Reports. They also have another YouTube channel, but they do Yowie expeditions in the Gold Coast area of Australia. So let's just pull that up. And there isn't really much audio here. I mean, I think they're just commenting on it. But what I'll do is I will pull that screen up here. So we'll just play this, and full copyright, obviously, Australian Yowie Hunters. This is just us showing a clip from their video of it. So here we go. So I guess I don't know what kind of camera or whatever it is they're using, but oh, there you go. There's something. Looks like there's two things there. Oh. Oh, wow. Look at that. So that's the clip that they showed in there. What do you guys think? I'll stop it on one of the freeze frames here that they have. Initial thoughts, guys?
So, okay, my first initial thought is there's a possibility it could be fake because they're so close. But at the same time, some of these newer and nice thermal cameras have zoom, even with it has pretty clear quality. The thing that makes me think it's not a guy in a costume, if you go out, try to find that one clear black hot frame real quick.
Yeah, let me just...
It's like coming up. It's
right there, yeah.
Yeah.
You can see almost like a hand go down, yeah.
Well, not only that, but like was it Finding Bigfoot and Survivor Man, or both, or one of them? I can't remember which one. But they did a FLIR test. If it was a guy in a costume, and I know the Finding Bigfoot guys talk about this all the time. If it was a costume, there would be patches of black hot or whatever you're using. But the fact that this is all black makes me think it's not a costume at all.
You'd have to heat it up, basically, if you wanted a costume to glow or to basically show that heat. It would have to be heated up. I mean, my initial impressions are it's either a human or it's not. I mean, it's either human or a Yowie, let's say, because it doesn't really look like a bear. I don't think there are. They're not really that type of wildlife, the same stuff that we have here as large in Australia. I mean, they have a lot of other very interesting wildlife, but it doesn't look like anything from those types of critters. So I don't know. It's interesting, but as you mentioned, Tate, with that, being able to get a little bit closer. I don't know the distance. Now, this video is from a 30-minute video, I have to say, and they talk about the expedition, and they show the areas where they took it in, and some of the spots there, and YouTube just wants to do ads. So we'll just we'll get rid of that. But yeah, really interesting. But Jeremiah, initial thoughts?
I mean, it's very close to what you said, where it's like, for something in Australia, there's not much else that could be unless it's a guy in a costume or it's an actual Yowie. Like, that was really, really cool looking. I would honestly have to watch the whole video. But like, there's nothing in there from my limited knowledge of like thermal that jumps out like, oh, that's fake. There's nothing that jumps out in my limited knowledge. Like, it's cool. Oh yeah, Alex, you are muted.
I'm sorry. Yeah, no, you can see that they're out in the bush. I mean, they're doing this expedition where you'd imagine something like this to live. I mean, if we're using a North American comparison out in, wooded areas where you have other wildlife, I don't know a whole lot about the Yowie, but I'm definitely trying to talk to some of these guys, maybe get some of the members on. Obviously, it's very tough time-wise with Australia, but Greg, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, just you could clearly see it bend over to pick something up. That was right there. He's picking something up, it looks like. When it stood up initially, the broadness of the shoulders really struck me. If there's a Sasquatch or a Yowie out there, I think that these guys might have caught something on video here. I'm gonna go with Bobo and say, "That's a Squatch, dude."
Awesome.
What's he say? Welcome to the Bigfoot Witness Club. No, but like I agree. It's the whole black hot thing. When it's all black, it's not. There's no patches of. I mean, obviously it's behind foliage right there, so you're gonna get the white with the black. But for the parts that you see, it's all black, and that's pretty hard to fix on the thermal footage. And even if it was hot that day, it's only gonna do so much. And you literally have to like have it in boiling hot water, then put it on.
Yeah, or like directly before filming, you might. I don't know if that would even work. I'm gonna have to. I'm curious. I might try that out and like get like a gorilla costume and just take like a blow dryer and just heat it up and then try and film it with the FLIR, see if it pops up. Just curious. I mean, I'm sure they're probably doing a follow up. But the thing that intrigues me about it is that the two. I mean, it seems like there's two. There's another area that stays consistently still, but is also lit up. Whether it's hot black or the other modes they have it on. One of the comments was talking a little bit about that. Kevin Hamilton says, in this video, they mentioned that the one in the back always has its back to the front one as if it's guarding the other one's back. So I don't know if they talked about it in the actual video. I mean, I'll have to watch the whole thing. I've just kind of seen the clip. Really interesting. John Horgan says, this is very interesting. Whoa. Mysteries Obscure says, that's crazy. Keith Rowland says, caught him taking a dump. I think Greg, we lost him for a minute, but he's back now.
It's kind of
eliminate.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, somebody commented as well. These guys found tracks nearby also. Asher says, that is interesting. I'm not sure what to think about it. Interesting. Go ahead, Tate. Sorry to keep cutting you off.
No, it's all good. It happened. It's kind of reminiscent to Bart's thermal video. I mean, it's not as Bart isn't as good, but in the video, there's definitely two of them there. Like one was keeping guard and one was probably doing something else. So, I mean, the fact that there's probably two of them in this video, I think, is probably, in my opinion. Also, I don't think Australia is blown out as Bigfoot research goes. But I think there's a lot more potential to get footage there versus places that are always getting hit by researchers. That's just what I think. And again, like I always said, the thermal video doesn't apply as far as costumes or clothing.
Well, that's what I really liked. That's why I showed the brown footage there, because I think it's just so interesting. Again, with that entire lit up area. And Shane Corson also brought up the comment about the other brown footage from Washington, which I believe the Olympic Project did an analysis on, if that's the one I'm thinking of. And again, it's like the whole, what looks like Head and Shoulders is lit up, completely without there being patches that are glowing and whatnot. So Australia, I think, is really interesting in the sense that there's definitely a lot less people out there probably looking for the Yowies, their version of Bigfoot. Way less than North America. I mean, population-wise, obviously, in general, they have less population. But think about how many people just across the United States and then into Canada that are actually looking into different Bigfoot, the regional kind of stuff. So there's a lot more people looking for it. So a lot more scrutiny, I suppose. But yeah, definitely really interesting. I'm glad people brought that footage up. I've been wanting to talk about it. So awesome that we got to show that. So very cool, guys. let's just see here. Somebody's saying, yeah, there's a new video they put that's a breakdown. There's some skepticism too. Guy 15 says, I honestly think it's too perfect. I don't really buy it. Fair enough. I mean, skepticism is obviously welcome, and the burden of proof is on those guys. The burden of having to show the evidence and kind of prove what it is on that group that made it. So if they're doing the proper protocols and following up and trying to do recreation or maybe doing these experiments, that's great. I don't really know much about the group, but definitely interesting to follow up on.
It's funny to go along with that. There's a buddy of mine that Jeremiah knows. I don't know if you guys know him yet. Jonathan Easley. I remember about a year before I met him, I saw this video on YouTube of this guy that got like weird audio at Bluff Creek. I was like, I don't know, that just seems a little fake to me. I'm like, he's standing right there. How could he not have heard it and everything? But it wasn't until I went and met the guy and we talked about it. We were doing our own recreation, helped him do some, and we were looking at different areas that, I tend to believe him a lot more, and I know he's not going to BS me. And I think Jeremiah, you could probably, I don't know, he does not seem like a liar, and he seems very straightforward, and he's really knowledgeable. And so it just goes to show, like, it's easy to judge from our couches about other people's footage and their evidence, but until you meet them and know them and kind of get a sense of who they are, that will add a lot more backstory too, and kind of give more credit to the film footage, whether it's real or fake.
Right. Oh, definitely. Anybody else have anything else to add on that before I take a couple of audience questions?
I was just going to add, if you want to check out Jonathan's videos of Bluff Creek area, it's Western Bigfoot Exploration on YouTube. It's worth checking out. He's got 3 videos. They're really good. So
awesome. So I'll take this question from Kayak, because we have Kayak in the chat. Crash Course Cryptozoology. Good friend of the show, says, so sorry I'm late. Probably already been asked, but what's the most compelling piece of evidence to each of you? So that hasn't been asked. Thank you for asking, Kayak. So if we're talking about Sasquatch specifically, I'm going to go with, just because it's something I've recently been exposed to, the Olympic Project nests.
Oh, dang it.
We can both talk about it. Just, beforehand, I didn't know a whole lot about the site and everything. And, I'd seen the pictures and I thought they were pretty compelling, but and I mentioned this on the breakdown show, or the expedition recap show we had a couple of weeks ago with Shane and Seth and the whole crew, that, like, having spent time there and being in there, that's what really made me look at that story even differently, because there's just so many factors behind it. Once you know the full story, I mean, it just, for me, it's very compelling. And I think that's the most interesting Sasquatch related evidence that's come out the 21st century, in lack of other more compelling, video or photo evidence, at least in the last 10 years. It's probably the most interesting thing to come out of it. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so Alex has had the privilege of going there and seeing it and all that. So the reason why I say the same thing is I've interviewed Shane Corson. He's a trustworthy dude. Obviously, they have seen a lot of these nests out there. Also, just the fact that there has been scientists, there's been people that have looked at them and confirmed that, yes, these same things are like what other things do, primate wise. That enough for me is that's red flag city. Yeah, there's not, that's crazy to me. So I'm looking forward to seeing the footage that is coming out of Small Town Monsters upcoming documentary for that. Definitely.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. That's not going to be for a while now, and it's crazy because I have this footage and I'm just sitting on it. And I'm like, I'm sifting through it and everything, and I'm slowly maybe starting to edit a little bit. But there's other projects that are coming before then. So because we're not going to be releasing those probably until the end of this year, which is really tough. But it's very, very cool. But anyway, Greg, what do you think?
I have to say that most compelling evidence to me is probably Dr. Meldrum's book, Legend Meets Science. One of the coolest things are like casts, and that's really great evidence. The Skookum cast is one of my favorites, where a Bigfoot. This is all from his book, from Dr. Jeff Meldrum's book, but they allege that the Sasquatch kind of sat down and reached in for some apples that they baited with, and then they got obviously they got the big cast from it with some like butt prints and stuff like that. So that's pretty compelling to me.
Yeah, it's a good collection of a lot of that evidence compounded into one place that you can check that book out. And it's a lot of people that are not into the Bigfoot world, maybe from academia too, have checked that out and thought it was interesting, at least from what I've heard and what from what Meldrum has talked about.
That's the book there.
It's awesome. Yeah, I have his little field guide somewhere around here, but.
You're muted, Alex.
Tate has a picture of the Bluff Creek behind him, actually, in the famous location. Awesome. But yeah, Tate, what do you think, man?
I always want to say that, but I think footprints are pretty compelling. Because sometimes you get footprints that are like taken way out in the middle of nowhere, and it's pretty hard to fake that with wooden feet. We all think of Ray Wallace when we think of hoaxing Bigfoot tracks, and those are pretty flat-footed. Like, I mean, this is kind of flat-footed. You can kind of tell the mid-tarsal break is there, and you can kind of see it there. So, and this is a pretty big footprint. I think for somebody to be faking this in 1964 would be difficult to do. But not saying it's impossible. Just like video footage or making nests, anything can be faked. But like you said, I trust Shane Corson too, so I think the nests are real. But for me, I think tracks are pretty compelling. And then Greg's mentioned the book by Jeff Meldrum, and I'm sure he talks a lot about footprints in that book. So yeah, for me, it's the track evidence.
Yeah, right on. I mean, another great book to pair with that one would be John Bindernagel's first book, which is like a field guide. And I've talked about it so many times on the show, just being one of my favorite books because it reads like a field guide that you can just pick up, an Audubon Society or another, field guide about wildlife in North America. And it's just really good. And it compounds that.
There's this other book.
Is that the butt print?
There's this other book that the Bluff Creek Project used.
Squatch got butt.
This one?
Which
Meet
the Sasquatch. Nice.
Christopher Murphy and so there's a bunch of, they talk about some prints in there too.
Yeah, those are awesome books. We'll have to do some kind of a show at some point, maybe just talking about books and what books are, what to check out, and maybe introductory stuff, more advanced stuff. I don't know. I mean, because there's some books that you can pick up if you're just mildly interested in this topic or don't know anything about that are a good primer to the subject. But then there's some books that are so, I don't want to say far out there, but very complicated that you almost have to have a back knowledge to kind of know what's going on, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend to somebody first getting into the field. So that would definitely be an interesting way to do it. But yeah, awesome. Thank you guys for sharing all that. It was a lot of fun talking about that. So what we'll do now is we will definitely show a clip from the upcoming Granite State Bigfoot case documentary. I did just want to say hey to Bigfoot Okanagan. That's Leon. He's been on the show. How's it going? Kayak also says there's a piece of trail camera footage reporting the show a Yowie. Is that the one that came out a few years ago? I'm not sure. You'd have to send me that, Kayak. I'd love to talk about it at another point. But yeah, a lot of great comments. Ashley says, I'm so here for an episode about books. Totally. Keith says books would be awesome. Kevin says, fun show, boys. Very interactive style tonight. Yeah, just trying something different. You guys really seem to like Kayak's show that he did when he was talking about the video evidence. So it's definitely a little bit of a, interesting kind of style for me to try out here. But anyway, all right, let's show this clip. So again, guys, this is a clip from the upcoming documentary of mine that will be on the Small Town Monsters channel coming out this Thursday. It is called Beyond the Trail, the Grant State Bigfoot Case. And Beyond the Trail basically is going to be a documentary series that's going to be coming out, produced by myself, where we're going out to these different areas in North America and trying to talk to people involved with Sasquatch and have our own experiences and just kind of set up. So the second one is going to be, we're going to be filming that soon. That's going to be in Maine. So this is kind of the first time I'm talking about that here. And we'll do a little bit more about that at some point. We'll even do a couple live streams about it. But the Pacific Northwest thing about the Olympic project will be on there as well. That's going to be kind of a further episode. So we have some really cool stuff planned with it. But this is going to be the first episode, and that's going to be coming out, as I said, this Thursday on the Small Town Monsters channel. So I'll just play a few minutes. So let me grab the video file here. I don't know if might take a little bit just because it is go ahead. You can probably unmute yourself. What's going on? Still talking about the butt?
Actually, I don't know. I was talking to Meldrum about that. I was like, I want to get a copy of that. So I think on my trip out there, I'm going to try and get a copy of that butt print.
Right on.
I'm going to hang it on my wall.
Where is that at, Tate? I know this is probably a super basic question.
I think Meldrum has
Oh, he actually has it. Yeah.
Well, I think Meldrum has a copy of it, but I don't know if he's made molds of it yet.
Okay.
Make one.
Ooh.
But I'm going to try and buy one from him. Or Cliff might have one too.
Nice.
Okay, so I'm going to show that clip here, guys. Like I said, and it's the full documentary here. So I'm gonna skip to. I'm gonna try and find a part here that'll be interesting. Get you guys getting a little sneak peek here, but we'll just kind of take it back a little bit to right around here. So here we go. I'm gonna mute the mic now, and I will get rid of us all on screen, and we'll come back after to talk about it. While not well known for it, stories of Bigfoot-like creatures have been reported across the state for decades. There are old logging stories of tall, hairy creatures known as wood devils in the Great North Woods region of Coos County, as well as tales of strange howls at night in the mountains.
There's a lot of sightings, usually in the fall, spring, fall time. I know, they're all year round. People do see them year round. I mean, maybe people just aren't reporting it. We do get a lot of that here in the state of New Hampshire where people don't even want to report because they're afraid of ridicule or trespassers. They don't want anybody on their land. So I do run into that a lot. I would say about 98% of my cases, they don't want anybody to know. I had a really good Class A encounter that the gentleman was really nervous, and he was a police officer and he didn't want his neighbors to even know.
The Hollis flea monster of 1977 was a Sasquatch-like creature reported by multiple people in the small southern New Hampshire town of Hollis. The most notable encounter happening at the Hollis Flea Market, in which a man and his sons were terrified by something shaking their trailer one evening, leading to a face-to-face encounter. All right, so that's what I'm going to show just for now, just a little tease, so you guys can check that out. So as I mentioned, that will be coming out this Thursday on the Small Town Monsters channel. So it's going to be interesting. It's a little bit of that classic documentary style, but it really is more focused on us kind of out in the field. And that's kind of going to be the general feel of the whole, all the documentaries that are part of it. It's going to be really us out in the field and kind of showing some of the primitive skills out in the woods and just actually being out in the field. So that should be fun. But anyway, guys, thanks. It's been a really awesome show. So again, Jeremiah of the Bigfoot Society, link down below. Greg, All the Weird. Tate Hieronymus of the Bluff Creek Project podcast. Thank you guys all, as always, for your comments and questions and, funny jokes in the comments. There's always something interesting to be said in the chat over there. Thank you guys all. And as a reminder, guys, if you haven't checked it out, last week we had on Tobias and Emily Wayland of the Singular Fortean Society. Next week will be who are we having on? Larry Beans Baxter, who is Alaska Bigfoot guy. So that'll be cool. I'm really excited to talk about Alaska. I have not really dove into that at all. And looks like Jeremiah has his book actually. Awesome.
It's a good book. Everyone should get it.
Tate's having a good time over there. But yeah, thanks guys. John says congratulations, premiere, great teaser. Thank you. Great show. See everyone Wednesday. Yeah, absolutely. Again, Clubhouse, we do that Wednesday. So if you guys are on Clubhouse, join us on there. But all right, guys, everyone have a great rest of your week. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll definitely do some shows like this again in the future where it's a little more interactive and we'll bring in a whole cast of characters as we've had tonight. So take it easy, everybody.
Thanks, Alex.